What's going on, everyone? Brandon the Broker here, and let's just say it's been a wild few days for me. Sorry I haven't uploaded anything. You're going to hear me moving around a little bit. I'm literally on bed rest. I can't really do much of anything. So, guess what? We're going to watch a video. I can already hear the enthusiasm just draining from all of you. I'm sorry. I really am. Anyway, we are going to watch this video. It is called 5 Things I Wish I Knew Before Starting Architecture School. I feel the same way. I really do. So let's just go for it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ashley and I'm an architect in Ontario, and in this video we're going to be talking about the 5 things that I wish I knew before starting architecture school. And toward the end of the video I have a bonus tip that I'll be sharing with you. Now, some of you might be starting architecture school in the fall and you might be a bit anxious and nervous about starting architecture school and you're not sure what to look forward to or what to keep out for. So in this video I'm going to be sharing 5 tips.
Here's what to look out for: not sleeping, not eating right, and you're going to cry at least once a week.
That I wish I knew before I started architecture school, which might be helpful for you on your journey. So if you're interested, make sure to like the video, and of course make sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos on the channel, and it helps me out because it lets me know that you enjoy this type of content. Now, if you're interested, let's get started. Let's start with the first tip. Tip number 1, be close to the school. Now, this sounds pretty basic, but something to keep in mind, especially if you're starting in the fall, that architecture school is an intense program. It does require a lot of hours and it requires a lot of your focus. So one of the things that I would recommend is to try to live as close as possible to the campus. Don't live an hour or hour and a half away by public transportation, because that will be taxing to you on a daily basis, because you'll have to.
Very factual, actual. Please, if you can't live on campus, at least try to live about 15 minutes away.
Commute in the morning and then at night as well. It is quite an intensive program and you'll find yourself commuting a lot at night. So it's important to be as close as possible to the campus so that it's easier for you on a day-to-day basis. You don't have to commute as much and you can focus on your studies, which is most important. So it really allows you to focus. Now, I understand how it can be very expensive to live on campus, but you can find affordable ways to live close to campus, but live, not too far where it's so taxing for you to commute on a daily basis. Now, this was one of the mistakes that I made when I first started architecture school. I lived about an hour and a half away from public transportation. I had to take several buses to get to the architecture school, and that started to become very taxing to do that in the morning and then in the evening, and then sometimes you have to work till late, and it's not very safe to be commuting when you're so exhausted, falling asleep on buses and so on. So I highly recommend trying to find accommodation close to the program. And of course, as you make friends, you can also find ways of teaming up with similar students that are in the program. And that's another thing to keep in mind, is that students in other programs might not be working as intensely as architecture students, so we don't have as much time to party as.
Make friends with the urban design and the civil and structural engineering students, because you're all going to be in hell together. And besides, you're all going to really need each other come somewhere down the line. It's good to make friends with them, especially the structural engineer students.
Other programs in the university. So it's important that when you find roommates to live with that they're all from the same program and they're going to have similar deadlines as you, so you're all kind of working away on your projects and you're staying focused without distractions and other distractions from roommates. So I would recommend, if you are getting roommates, that they also be within the architecture program and they're involved in an intensive type of program, because that will help you to stay focused and living close to the architecture building. Tip number 2.
Let me add something onto that real quick. Why you do want to live closer. If you are going to be commuting and you have projects that you're going to have to take into school, because you're not always going to do everything in studio. Some things you're going to be doing at home or in your dorm room. The further you live away, the more there's a chance things are going to get ruined. Please understand, people don't give a damn how long it took you to put something together. They will ruin it simply because they can ruin it. So always keep that in mind. 15 minutes or less, if you could live on campus, better. If you could just live just off campus, like 5 to 15 minutes away, great as well. But living on campus is the move.
Time management. Now, this might be difficult during your first year of architecture school because everything will be very new to you, and if you are just starting architecture school, this could be a little bit hard to grasp because you're learning a lot of new programs and there's so much and it could be overwhelming. But try to be mindful of your time and to be mindful of using your time productively. You know, architecture school can be very intense, yes, and there could be times that you have to do all-nighters. But looking back, all-nighters is not the best way to work because at a certain period of time, you're not really being productive and the quality of work is just going downhill. So you're better off to have more of a consistent schedule where you at least get 6 hours of sleep rather than having one.
Very true. Think of it like a job. I know some people try to glamour. If you look at StudyTube, for example, that's what we call it. If you look at StudyTube, people do try to glamorize all-nighters and stuff like that. And it does happen. I had to pull some in architecture and land development, but you don't have to do it all the time. So don't let anybody tell you that's the only way to do architecture school, urban design, urban planning, or engineering. Get your rest.
2 nights with no sleep and then you oversleep another night. So it's best to kind of stay consistent and plan your projects ahead of time. And so if you know you have a major deadline coming up for studio or for a design project that you know that's going to require a lot of your time, then try to plan your sleep accordingly and pace yourself. And try not to procrastinate because that could be the worst. When you procrastinate, just try to start on the projects as soon as possible so that you can fully work things out, and make sure to really time out your projects and your courses. So for example, if you're finding it hard to do 6 or 8 courses in one term, then think of doing some of the electives during the summer to help you out with the course load. So if you find that it's too overwhelming to do the electives and the core courses all in one semester, then look at ways of possibly doing your electives in the summer, so that could alleviate yourself during the semester to really focus on the core courses and to deliver the best work that you can do. So look at ways of doing that and really spend time in looking at how you want to spend that time. And so time management is really important, and I would recommend planning out your time, doing to-do lists, and that will also help you. By doing to-do lists, it will help you to not procrastinate, because I find also sometimes that you procrastinate because you're overwhelmed.
Very, 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 very true.
With all the work that's coming up, so it helps to break up the work into bite sizes that you can chip away at it. And I find when I do a list and I can start to cross out items, you start to really feel good and you kind of feel like you're getting toward the end of the work. and you start to see progress, which is really important as well. So that's one way to kind of deal with that, and also incorporate your time management as well. So part of this time management, I would look at ways of using your summer, really start to develop your 3D skills, your 2D illustration skills, Photoshop skills, and so on. And now you have so many options to learn for free. You can use YouTube, which at my time when I did my undergrad, believe it or not, there was no YouTube. I feel so old by saying that, but there was no YouTube at the time. So I didn't have that luxury to just, build up skills for free in that sense. So now there's so many resources out there that you can take advantage, and you can even start now before you start your fall semester. You can start building some of those skills before you get started into the program, and start to plan ways that you can use your summer breaks to do that.
Very true. Kids, use your summers wisely. This is new. This wasn't around when I started. Actually, it kind of was. There's all kinds of certificate programs in BIM, Revit, Rhino, SketchUp, this, that, yada. And please do understand, every school does not use every program, so they don't teach you every single program. So the more you can come in learning, the more you learn during the summers, the easier it's going to be, and the more ahead of the curve you're going to be. So if you could learn that stuff before you get to school, you're going to be ahead of the game.
And of course, you can use your summer breaks as well to, work full time and to earn some money so you can fund your education as well. Tip number 3, take care of yourself. Now, this sounds pretty basic, but make sure you get sleep, you drink plenty of water, and you eat healthy. Now, that sounds so simple, but believe it or not, it's actually very difficult to do when you are in architecture school. And I can say that every architecture student is guilty of this, because we tend to just work away, and sometimes we don't even notice the time, and it just flies, and we're just working on projects, trying to deliver the best, studio project and design project, and we're just working away, and we don't really pay attention that we're not taking care of ourselves. Now, if you don't take care of yourself and you're not mindful of your immune system and just keeping yourself healthy, then you're not going to be able to deliver the best work. So really take care of yourself during this time. Try to eat well, try not to eat so much junk food, and just try to have more of a balance. Now, sleep, that can be difficult to get 8 hours of sleep when you are in architecture school, but what I found really helped for me was to not necessarily overdo it one day and then oversleep the other day, because that's what a lot of architecture students will do, is that you'll work madly until your deadline, and then you just oversleep, and it's not great for your body. So I found that being more consistent, so when I know I have a major deadline coming up for a studio project and I know I need to put in a lot of my time, I'll start to, instead of sleeping 8 hours, I might do 6 or 5 hours, and I spread that out versus just condensing it into one, 2 or 3 days where I'm only sleeping 1 or 2 hours. And so I would spread that out, and I try to consistently get sleep toward that deadline. Now, I've seen students during my time pass out on presentations because they weren't able to be healthy and take care of themselves. They were dehydrated, and so when they're presenting their projects, they're so nervous as well. That doesn't help, and they're exhausted because they haven't been sleeping and they haven't been eating, and they've just been forgetting about all the essential items that you need as a human. So they've just forgotten about that, and so when they get to the presentation, they just collapse and they pass out. I've seen this myself.
She is not lying. She has not told one lie here. And actually, I'm very sorry. If you hear me doing something in the background, I'm actually checking my LinkedIn at the same time. I'm working on a project for school and listening to her at the same time. But yes, please take care of yourself. Guys, you cannot live off of White Monster and coffee and Twizzlers. I don't know what it is about people that just they drink the White Monster and eat Twizzlers all day. What are you doing with your life? Try something new.
And I really want to encourage you to be mindful and to take care of yourself, because this is not a race. It's all about being a journey. And you want to get out of architecture school standing. You want to be somewhat healthy by the end of it, because you have a lot more things to do afterwards. So this is an important tip as well. So I recommend to take care of yourself. Number 4, a good laptop. Now, this one is very important because your laptop is going to be a tool that you're going to use throughout your 4 years if you're doing your undergrad. And if you're doing your master's, it could be your 2-year program. So it's something that you're going to need. It's your bread and butter where you're going to do all your work. Now, I'm saying laptop because a laptop is a lot more versatile when you are a student, especially if you are doing your education in a different location from your hometown, so you're traveling. A laptop is very convenient. And then of course, it's also very convenient because when you are presenting your designs you're having desk crits, I should say. So when you're having desk crits with your professor, you can actually bring your laptop and show your design work, and you don't always need to print things out. Although I do recommend printing out, your plans and so on, so that you can nail down your line weights and all of that. But you don't have to do that as often when you have a laptop that you can bring with you to illustrate the design to a desk crit, for a desk crit. Now, a laptop.
The laptop that you get is going to be the most important tool. So please do pay attention to what she's saying here, because yes, don't go cheap. A lot of people try to go cheap and they have to get a new laptop every year, every 6 months, every semester. You'll see them keep having to get new ones simply because of the fact that they tried to go cheap. I won't say go at the most expensive, but at least go mid-range. At least go mid-range. If it makes it 3 years, it's going to make it 4. If it makes it 4, it might squeak out if you're in a 5-year. But by that time, you can probably tell your parents, hey, get me a new laptop as a gift for graduation.
It's really important. And I went through, again, at least 3 to 4 laptops in my undergrad. And in my master's, I had, I think, 2 laptops, one that burnt out on the first year, which was incredible. It was a gaming computer and it burnt out. And then the second one, I had better luck and I still have that laptop. Now, I'm gonna be doing a separate video on the laptops that I recommend based on my experience of using them. And I've had quite a few laptops, so I guess I can be helpful to you with selecting the right laptop for architecture specifically. And so I would use the laptop to do 2D work, 3D work, rendering, and so on. So it really does get a lot of use. So it's probably one of the most important investments that you'll make when you are going to architecture school. And one of the things that you do want to spend the time researching and getting right, because I didn't get it right. I had to go through a lot of computers and they just literally, they died on me from being used quite a lot, and they just couldn't keep up with the work. So that is something that I will talk about more on specific details on which laptops that I recommend on a separate.
So here's the gist of it. If you can get 16 gigabytes of RAM, great. That should be the bare minimum. If you can get 32, even better. But if all you could do is 16, get to 16. As far as storage, you at least want 1 terabyte. Please remember, things like AutoCAD, Rhino, BIM, Lightroom are very heavy and they take up a lot of space. And that means anything you save is also going to take up a lot of space. So if you can get 1 terabyte, great. 2 terabytes, even better. Think of it as a gaming laptop that you are going to save Call of Duty to, or whatever your game of choice is. Go for the best. Me, personally, I'm going to go with the Framework 16. And the reason I'm going with Framework is I like Linus. Linus Tech Tips is cool. But the other reason is because of the fact that it's upgradable. If I need to upgrade it, I can upgrade it. If I need to put in more RAM, more memory, more storage, I can just pop everything off and do it. I don't have to buy a new one.
Video. Number 5, build a community of friends. Now, this is important because, again, architecture school is intense. Now, when I say intense, don't be discouraged by that. It's still a lot of fun. You still enjoy the process, especially if you enjoy architecture. You're gonna have fun, but it is hard work. It's not a walk in the park, definitely. But then again, what is? I'm sure becoming a lawyer has its...
You know, it's a walk in the park. Underwater basket weaving. That is. Wait, I can't hold my breath that long. Never mind.
difficulties as well, and becoming a doctor and so many other disciplines that I'm not going to get into, but nothing in life is easy, so there's going to be some challenges. Now, because architecture school is intense, I recommend building a community of friends, and really taking advantage of that because you are in it together. So it's important to build that community where you can also, when you are struggling with a particular project, you can share notes. Now, when in my undergrad, there was always one friend in the group that was really good at one particular subject, and because we were all trying to focus in on the design, the main core courses of the course, so specifically studio, what we did with all the other core courses is whoever was really good at that specific topic, we would, rely on them to share their notes with us and exchange information and so on. And so that became a nice community where we can share information and content and work together as a team. Because the reality is, when you start working in the field of architecture, you have to be a team player, and it's all about working in a team and having those people skills. So this is also a great opportunity to start building those skills while you are in architecture school. And so really,
the way I built mine was, once again, architect students, engineering students, especially the civil and structural engineering. If you want to add in electrical engineering, you can. The urban planning and urban design. Like I say, at some point, all of you guys are going to go into the workforce together. All of you are going to need each other. You guys might as well start now. And there's going to be times that you guys are going to cross paths in school. They're going to be at some of the crits, at some of your juries. Go ahead and make friends with them.
take advantage and be mindful and start to build that community, because that really will help you to get through the program, and it also makes it fun. It's a lot more fun when you're working together versus working alone. Number 6, and this is a bonus tip, don't stress about the details. Focus on the big picture, and this is really specific to when you are working on design projects for studio and even other projects within the core courses of architecture school. Don't waste your time. I don't want to say waste your time, but focus so much on the details, and then you kind of forget and you lose touch of the bigger picture. So instead of focusing on these little details that take hours to figure out, you should first start with the big picture, see how the presentation is going to unfold, look at the bigger picture of how you're going to deliver that content, and then start to build out what items you want to illustrate to build that story, versus starting at a smaller scale and then losing touch of what the bigger storyline is and what the narrative is that you want to communicate of your design. So really spend the time on focusing the big picture, and don't stress and worry about the little details. So those are the 5 tips, including the bonus tip that I would recommend if you are starting architecture school to keep in mind when you're going into the program. And of course, you're never going to know everything. Don't be afraid about starting the journey. Have fun with it. Enjoy. If you enjoy architecture, you will have a blast. Everything else will come naturally and you will figure it out. But if I knew about these tips, that would help me even further to progress and to not worry about, again, all the small things, and to focus on the bigger picture of things. So if you found this video to be helpful, make sure to subscribe and make sure to like, subscribe,
go over to her channel, show her some love. She is amazing. She is very knowledgeable. And also show me a little bit of love, just a little bit. Have a good day, folks.